See. All right, we should be good. All right, so thank you everyone for coming. This is kind of a momentous day for us. Depending where you start the clock, this is like years of work on multiple levels. So the project we're going to be looking at today, oh, my folks just joined. What we're going to be looking at today is a project, the very first bounty, and we're very lucky to have Chris on the call. He was the one who actually funded most of this, I think about 80% of this. So it was a very generous donation that allowed us to basically have this first kind of full, complete cycle of this vision. And I figured what I'd do is actually give a quick little history lesson just to kind of set the table and help everyone understand like how we got here, like what is this project all about? And so let me do that. I'm going to just share my screen real quick. I was trying to find photos of the first startup weekend, and I just didn't have enough time to find it. But yeah, basically, this is depending when you start the clock. Like this is an idea. I went to the very first startup weekend. Josh and I have a mutual friend, Andrew Hyde, who is the guy who founded this project. And so I met him back in 2007. It was the very first one, and this was when there was 132 people working on the same project, to give you kind of a feel for how that project has evolved. But like it really struck me that there's a lot of power in this idea of like bringing complete strangers together in a room, and just the diversity of backgrounds and skill sets and what you can do with that. And so fast forward, Josh, my friend here, was also my former CEO. And so I left that company in, was it January 2020, like right before COVID happened, basically to pursue this full time. And that was a hard decision because that was an awesome experience, an amazing company. But this was just kind of the calling. And here's a little bit more history for you guys. I know this is kind of jumping around, but like this was Charity Makeover. So this was the idea that kind of spawned from Startup Weekend. I had this vision of like, could we do this for charities? Basically, like this whole Startup Weekend process. What if you could do that, and instead of the projects evaporating at the end of that weekend, what if we could actually support charities, and then like that work then would go to a good cause after that weekend. So the very first incantation of this, this started in January of 2014, and we did a number of these events. And where is it here? The last one we did was in Bali, right before COVID. This was March 20th, 2020. And then I basically kind of rethought the entire charity makeover model and everything, because this was event-based. And so when COVID happened, it was really tricky. We couldn't do events for like 2 years. And so I kind of went back to the drawing board, and I came up with this idea of like, could we do part async, part online, but in-person events once that was possible again. And so blending the best and trying to really put that Startup Weekend format to work, solving problems that actually mattered. And so, and then fixing one of the biggest issues that we had with Charity Makeover, which was like the charities as the proxy to the problem, was a really hard thing. It was like too extenuated to be able to deal with it. And so I kind of came to the conclusion that we could actually work on the problems themselves by just building open source projects and then releasing those, but get kind of the same experience, the same power. And I think like these problems, this whole problem space has become to known as wicked problems. Like I didn't know that term when we started, but I kind of learned about this and realized it's wicked not in the sense that they're evil, although there's often kind of a correlation to that, but like wicked in the sense that they're just these knotted, gnarly, big, seemingly intractable issues. And those are the kind of things that I think we're primed to be able to solve. And so today you're going to get the opportunity to see the project that's been developed. It's competing for this bounty. And so this vision is that if we put a outcome-based bounty out there, and then that will galvanize people to, align around that. And it's kind of like, we don't care what the solution looks like so much as we care about that outcome. Like, can they actually solve the problem at hand? However that is. And so really the role of today with the judges, and I'm going to introduce the judges in a second here. We're very lucky to have some high power folks on the call. But judges, your role is basically going to be to listen to these presentations from the team that worked on this, and determine whether these 6 criteria are met. And I will keep this to under an hour. The kind of the flow here is I'm going to introduce you guys. I'll let Jeff say just a little bit because Creighton has been a huge partner in this whole project. This product that was built was basically built under Jeff's direction to solve, to work with the community that he serves. He serves like a 15,000 section of Phoenix. I'll let him talk about that. But this is not like a fictitious kind of imaginary pie in the sky product. It was actually built around a very to serve a very real community. And then consistent with our mission is extracting this, not just solving it for that local community, but then freezing it, bottling that solution and then making that available to others. So we just open sourced it. The interns will tell you about all that, how it works. Then judges, you'll have an opportunity to actually ask questions, and really your goal should be to just get clarification to determine whether these 6 criteria were met. You'll have about 10 minutes to deliberate, and then fingers crossed, assuming that it all worked, we're basically going to hopefully award this thing. And so this is the bounty at stake. This is the current value of it. It was above 6,000. Unfortunately, some of this was Ethereum, and the markets aren't so great right now. But we're considering it having met its target. It was above 6K a few days ago. Okay, so with all that said, let me just introduce the judges. Maybe I'll start in reverse chronological order because Stuart just joined. So let me start with Nadia. Nadia, we met Holt Prize about 2 years ago. Can you just say a few words about your background and what you do?
Sure. Yeah, we met around 2 years ago. I was heading the expert relations for Whole Price Foundation, which is a world-leading platform for social entrepreneurship. We support student entrepreneurs to build impact-driven businesses. Yeah, and I met Sean in an incredible summit where we hosted a competition and a startups pitch to actually solve the fashion industry. So they had to create a setup that was solving all of the bad things in the fashion industry to move towards a more sustainable industry. And yeah, I love working for impact-driven businesses, and I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'm glad that you and Jason are able to meet, and hopefully you guys can connect after this. Because actually, Jason, why don't you go next? I skipped the order wrong. Jason, I met you most recently, maybe like a month or two ago via a mutual friend. But yeah, maybe you can say a little bit about your work at XPRIZE.
Absolutely. Jason Bateman, no, not the actor. I know you're excited to say maybe the actor will be here, but you can tell your friends Jason Bateman was online with you today. I'm the activist. So I work for XPRIZE. What we do is we solve the world's greatest problems through multi-million-dollar incentivized cash prizes. So we've done like 30 prizes in 30 years, 519 million in prize purses, a little bit bigger than this purse today. But we have had over 7.2 billion invested into the teams that competed. So the exciting part about today is if you get the money, you could turn this into a business. That business could come commercialized, and the sky's the limit on what you can accomplish out there in the world. So we focus in areas. These things behind me are all the prizes we've done. We do health, energy, environment, space, deep tech, food, water, waste, and education.
Amazing. And
I'm the VP of community, so I recruit philanthropic futurists and ambassadors of abundance to help us change the world.
Yeah, and so I found the post about a decade ago when I read Peter Diamandis's book Abundance, and then just discovered him and XPRIZE, and that idea. Like XPRIZE definitely uses the idea of a bounty and aligning people. So certainly influential on the thinking. A lot of that went into this. So thank you. How about Stuart? Do you want to introduce yourself?
You want me to follow Jason? Seriously, that's almost impossible. Right? Thank you for that. So, I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned the wicked problem stuff, right? So Canopy began life in Somerville, Massachusetts about 10 years ago, and part of our mission was to solve wicked problems. So what my co-founder Matt had a vision for was the idea that in Boston, everybody was in a silo. Really smart people were in the silos, and we met all these people in government and in tech and in the universities and stuff. And Matt said, look, this DNA of being an innovator and entrepreneur, this is in all these places, but they never meet. So let's make a place where they can come together, and we can put artists with people running for state senator positions, with tech guys, with nonprofits. And when we bring them together and we help them build their companies, which is what I do, we're going to show them some of the wicked problems in Boston, and we're going to see if putting these smart people and activating them will actually solve things in a different way. And to exemplify that, at our keynote opening address, we had Noam Chomsky come and talk about the role of innovation with peace and international security. And he was a personal friend of Matt's and his mentor, and Matt was a bit of an activist, and that's where all this kind of DNA came from. And we've tried since then, over the last decade, to build supportive ecosystems of smart people and help them see difficult problems and say, look, I know you're doing a startup, or I know you've just exited and all this stuff. Have you thought about doing things of meaning? Can you have a look at like algorithmic discrimination, and maybe you can do something about it, but maybe you didn't know about it before, you weren't thinking about it before. And we, by manifesto, have a zero barrier to entry. So the goal is, in entrepreneurship and innovation, all these smart people sit in the room and they think about stuff. And we're like, that's cool. What about these other people you're not talking to? Maybe the people that are affected by that thing that you're thinking about. And the zero barrier thing is, if you walk into one of our events, it doesn't matter if you just exited on 500 million or you're the guy that walked in off the street that doesn't really know what's going on. You sit on the same chairs, you get the same food, and you get the same experience as everybody else, because then the guy who exited 500 million actually has got a lot of depression, and he learned a lot from speaking to the student who just sat down next to him. And they together came up with some new ideas, and that's by manifesto. So that's a bit about what I do.
Yeah, Stuart was one of the very first people I met in Lisbon, and we just kind of hit it off immediately. I think we have a lot of the same views on this idea.
It's mainly that we're eye to eye on stuff, Sean. That's what it is, right?
We're both giants. Cool. And I want to introduce Tanya as well. Tanya's not a judge today, but Tanya is actually the person who started the code base and did a lot of the work to get it going. And the interns have extended that and worked basically from what she started. But Tanya, do you want to say a little bit about Proto-Coders and what you do?
Sure. So I founded Proto-Coders because I fell in love with the ability to build apps using a no-code tool called Bubble. And yeah, our mission has just been to enable as many people as possible to build their own apps too. So that's what we've been up to. Yeah.
Yeah, we use Tanya's office hours. Pretty much there's always someone there every week. It's been a really critical resource for us. There's zero chance we could have done this without Proto-Coders. So both thankful for you starting the code base, and then also being just that force of helping us through all the challenges. And I think probably Divya and Sai and Ash will all attest to how incredibly important.
I don't remember which number of office hours we were on when you joined, Sean, but we're closing in on 1,300 now. So
yeah,
sessions. So we meet every weekday. So
yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Awesome.
And lastly, I don't know, Josh, would you be willing to sit in for Andrew as like a backup judge? Because I don't think Andrew's going to make it.
I'll do my best.
Well, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself too?
I'm Joshua Strevel. I ran a bootstrapped WordPress hosting company for 20 years. Sean was our director of sales for several of those years. And in 2021, we exited to GoDaddy. And in 2022, I retired. And I've been retired for 2.5 years now. And happy belated birthday, Sean.
Thank you. It's actually, it's coming up. It's May. Yeah. And it's a big one, the 5-0. So, okay, cool. Well, so let's get started for the interest of keeping on time here. So why don't we do this? So the Sai, Divya, and Yash are going to present to you guys next. They're going to show you this app, what it does. And actually, sorry, jump the gun. Jeff, do you want to basically kind of give the vision of Creighton and how, like, what this is all about before they do that?
Sure.
Just
I'll try to keep it short, Sean.
Yeah, keep it short.
So I left the tech industry myself about 10, 15 years ago to start Creighton, really to step into places of extreme poverty. We are in the human capital business. You know, we all live and breathe by the people around us who make the world go around. When you're working in particularly impoverished places, you find a poverty of people and relationships too that affects life outcomes and kind of cross-generational poverty. So we stood up Creighton Community Foundation to invest pretty deeply in this community of about 75,000 households. And, you know, we do a broad spectrum of kind of relationship building things anchored in youth. We recognize that there are many dimensions of poverty and inequity in our communities, from food to space, open spaces and community resources, to many other things, to keep it short. one most powerful is poverty of relationships. But we engaged with Sean and Problematic in this idea of building something that could support many other people from a poverty of digital equity. We recognized there was a tremendous digital divide, especially during COVID-19 in our community, and an inability to connect lives and reach lives digitally. When we started reacting to some of the forces of COVID, which one of those was a really big crisis, kind of primary hunger for kids, families, all of our community. Today, you know, speaking to that, we serve about 6,500 households through annually through a weekly food distribution that, you know, lives and breathes by the efforts of about 3,500 volunteers annually, 6,500 households, so about 500 households any given Saturday or weekly rhythm that are food insecure enough to tolerate 2-hour lines just to get food stability and nutrition in their households. But this all exploded during COVID. We realized there was a huge digital divide in our communities because we couldn't reach people, resource new solutions for things that closed during COVID, like all the food pantries closing down. And as we pivoted into meeting some of those needs, we started building some SMS messaging solutions, recognized the ubiquity of SMS, you know, and the reliance on SMS still as a connection across our communities. You know, many of our families don't hold on to a cell phone or a cell phone number for any period of time, but they almost always have a cell phone that has SMS service on it because that's how you communicate with family anywhere. And you're just in this rhythm. You lose connectivity, you lose your phone. You know some numbers, you know some people and how to reach them and how to get back in touch. But how do you do that for social services, for food, for things that you need to just live your life, right? So we started building SMS solutions back in the day so that folks would be able to get to food in some of these crises of COVID-19. And then when I met Sean and saw what he was doing with Problematic, I wait, this thing that we built is really a nightmare. Can we build a better one? And you know, had all these disparate tech pieces scattered everywhere. You know, Twilio, REST APIs, and AWS pieces. Like, can we do this better? This would be a really interesting project over here. And one thing led to another, and we've been able to get people together. And we are really in the space of activating human capital, whether you're poor, whether you're a volunteer and giving back. And Sean was very much chasing this same dream, that Problematic, of activating human capital for problems, which is a relational pursuit, right? Putting people together for a good cause. And we just hit it off. You know, I'd known just Sean since what, the jump box days.
Yeah.
And we knew some people around us that connected us even before then, I think. And yeah, so just a shout out to you know, everybody here. You're in a human capital and building a relationships project today, even just coming together to judge this bounty. And shout out to Tanya. Yeah, I think Tanya underserved herself, proto coders over there, and just you know, she's in the human capital space, and you know, praise to you, Tanya, because yeah, you're equipping people in interesting ways to build dynamic stuff and pull solutions together, and you've connected this team and the other folks who have contributed message addict had to message everywhere here, Sai and Divya and Yash, in meaningful ways, and equipped a lot of people through what you're offering over there. And you're not just a code shop, you're not just like a education service, you're a human capital activator. And hey, thank you for doing that in this project. So
Yeah, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Thanks, Jeff. I think it's probably also worth mentioning that this is like the cornerstone piece. This message everywhere is kind of the communication bedrock piece, but we also just won a decent sized NIH grant. I don't know if it's worth mentioning that or.
You know, one thing leads
Are we
to
allowed to talk
another.
about it?
Yeah, you know, we're really in a patient partnership space when we work in community over here, and there are things that we chase for 10 and 15 years just to see fruit eventually born. So one thing led to another with Message Everywhere. Because we have this reachability into our communities, we also managed to secure a really interesting, fun little NIH AI machine learning project in the healthcare space to really share and disseminate knowledge on integrating AI tools with this digital divide solution in our communities to meaningfully engage with the social needs that people encounter as obstacles in their lives when they're trying to engage with solutions and services to address their needs, like getting a food box or enrolling in food stamps. And how do we apply AI and ML to meaningfully empower our community to tackle some obstacles in their lives? It's fun work. It's a notable little project that's going to execute through Problematic also.
Yeah, it's kind of like once we put this one to bed, it's now live in the Bubble marketplace. The next phase is really like the way that I think about it is we now have this conduit with Message Everywhere. And how do we use the AI stuff like in a productive way, almost diagnostically and interventionally? How can we figure out how to help people better? And then using it more agentic stuff, like being able to actually intercede and help them through some of the obstacles they have. And I mean, it's a fantastic use of the tech. So I think it's just a win all around. So anyways.
And again, it's that just as a footnote, it's the application of tech that's more relational than ever to human capital again, right? So yeah, really interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's just that I think a lot of the discussion around AI right now is about how it's like taking people's jobs, and like it's mechanizing things and it's pushing us apart. But I think this is actually just like a great use of it to actually, to help people truly like bring people together, and we can still use the human operators where it makes sense, but we can just help people at scale. So, okay. So
although Sean, I'll add that, it's consuming our lives. So I don't know that AI is healthy for us. So.
Yeah, I know. If you can see
we
my
spend way too
cursor,
long at the keyboard right now. Yeah.
My cursor usage is through the roof. So okay, so let's do this. We're a little slow. Divya, do you want to kick it off and start your presentation? I'll let you share your screen. Hold on here. Okay, you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay. Thanks, Sean, and thanks everybody. It was great getting to hear from all of you, and it's really amazing to know that we are in the presence of such big superpowers. So, my name is Divya, and I've been with Creighton for close to a year. Yash, Aditya, and I worked on this project together. And to talk about this project, Message Everywhere was built for a nonprofit organization, Creighton, whose mission is to reach and support people who aren't very well connected with the internet. In today's digital world, people with no internet access, they often miss out on critical information and services. And our project aims to bridge that gap by creating a messaging system that does not need the recipients to have internet connectivity. The core of our platform revolves around organizations who can categorize recipients according to tags, create targeted groups, and send them broadcast messages whilst maintaining individual chat conversations. So we are going to walk you through the system and show you how Message Everywhere can create an impact on communities. I'm now handing it over to Yash, who will explain the heart of our application, the chat feature.
All right, thank you so much, Divya. So let's get into the app. All right, so once you log into the app, the first thing you see is the chats. As it's a customer relationship management application, the chat is the most important part in the application. If you see on the left side, we have a couple of menus in here. We have settings, chats, recipients, and broadcast. Few of those we'll be explaining in detail in the later part of this demonstration. And for just letting you know, if you're on the panel right now and if you want to participate in our demo, Sai is sending a number in the chats right now, and anyone can just send their name on this SMS on this number. And as you can see, someone just sent a message right now. And if you click on it, it'll take you to the chat thread page. So the chat threads page is where you can just communicate to the recipient. So let's say this unknown recipient have sent you a message and they have their name on it. So we can just click on here and just save their name. So once the recipient have saved, you can just say, hi, welcome, and message has been sent. So we have a couple of more options over here. We have a note option where you can just keep track of notes in the conversation, and which will be only displayed to the admin. And then we have a couple of more filters on the left side, such as search chat. So you can chat anything from the conversation. We have assignment to, so it's currently assigned to me as I sent a hi welcome message over here. So it's auto assigned. And then we have changed the status. So let's get back in here in the other chat. So the chat is basically all the messages that are associated. And we just got one more message as well. So you can just say, so if you go back to the other chats, these are all the chats associated in our application. And as I just saved and texted Divya, so that chat got associated to me now, and which I'm the current admin. So everything that's associated to the current admin, you can just see in my chats. If you go in my chats, so we have Divya over here, which is moved to my chats. And we have a couple of features over here. So if let's say I click on Divya, you can see these features are activated now. So you can change the chat to someone else, change the status of this chat. We have archive and archive options. So if you click on archive, it'll give you a pop-up. And now that chat goes into the archive. And we also have a read unread message over here, a search keyword. And then we have a couple of options to filter the chats to just help you throughout this process of multiple chats. And you can just click on archive and bring the archive again back to your chats. And then we also have a button called as new recipient. And let's say there are a lot of people over here not who have not sent you a message, but you also have their number. So you can just click on the new recipient, set their name, set their last name, phone number, and just save. So once you save those recipients, it'll move into the recipients list, which Divya will be talking more about. Uh, thank you so much.
Divya, you're speaking on mute.
Oh, thanks, Aditya. Yeah. Can anybody hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was our chat screen. And if you want to look at a list of recipients within our database, you can just click on the recipients button and you can see everybody over here. And like Yash said, we could also edit a recipient, and we have a hamburger icon at the end of each record, and you could edit a person. And I'm sorry, Nadia, I don't know your last name, so we're just going to keep it as test for now. And we could edit details as we see fit, and we could save the recipients. And if you want to go to a chat thread, we could also click on the particular recipient, and this is another way to land on the chat thread for that particular person. And once we are done with the conversation and the person no longer wants to be associated with us, we could also deactivate them. And this isn't a permanent action. We could always just filter out the inactive recipients and then activate them again. And we also have a feature called new recipient. Like Yash mentioned on the chat screen, this is pretty much the same feature. We'll be able to add recipients after filling out all the details. And now, coming to broadcast, we have already shown you how chat works for individual messages, but what happens when we want to send the same message to different groups of people? So that is where broadcast comes in. So before I dive deep into broadcast, I want to take a moment and talk about tags. So tags is where organizations can categorize recipients according to their needs and interests. So we have like 5 tags on our database right now. And as a super admin, we have the ability to create a new tag. So I'm creating a tag and I name it as panel. And an alternative is basically you could give any name which could be misinterpreted for spell checks, or you could use this in case you don't get the spelling right. If you give this text as well, that is associated with this tag. And we give a description and we create a tag, and a tag is created. Once we create a tag, we can add recipients to the tag, and I'm adding Jeff and Nadia and Jim Holpert to the tag panel. And now you can see that in the recipient screen, we can see that the panel has been assigned to Jeff, Nadia, and Jim Halpert. So that is how tags work. Now, when we come back to broadcast, we create a new broadcast, we select a future date and a future time. The time is basically they're spaced 5 minutes apart from each other. And you select what tags you want to send the message to. We have the option to select multiple tags. And as we select the tags, we also get the list of recipients displayed here. And you type any message. For instance, I could type food distribution is at 11 a.m. tomorrow, and I select the language. This is basically this is a feature where we could choose what language we could send in. So for instance, if we have a lot of Spanish speaking recipients, then we could type out the message in Spanish and select only the Spanish recipients so that only they get the Spanish message. And we send a message, and you can see the broadcast is scheduled at 10:17 a.m. Arizona time. Oh, sorry, 11:38 a.m. on my CST time. So at this time, you should all get this message. And in case you schedule a broadcast and you want to cancel it, you also have the option to cancel the broadcast. And this is not a reversible option. And once you cancel a broadcast, the only way to undo it is by sending a new broadcast again. Another thing I should mention about the broadcast is we send the broadcast messages in batches of 45 with a time interval of 70 seconds in between each batch. So this is done so that we do not overwhelm our message service provider's capacity. And these parameters are in final, and we would be able to change it in the settings page, which Aditya will be talking about in the next section.
And let me just chime in here real quick. Jeff, you guys are using this now in production. It's been deployed for the last 2 months. Can you just speak to like the number of people we're talking about and how you're using it?
Yeah, so we have 1,500 folks that generally receive broadcast SMS messages on this system right now. Generally, the way our community works is it's kind of word of mouth on how you get help, what happens. And we've always operated with a kind of one, make it as easy as possible for folks to reach you behind one number. So our one foundation number, if you call it, if you text message, whatever, that's how you reach somebody and get connected. So if somebody, if your aunt over here is getting a food box and you're food insecure at your house and you need help with food, your aunt only has to relay one phone number, that main phone number, to you and say, hey, just send a text. And what we find in our community is almost everybody has text, access to text in one way or another. They generally don't have internet connectivity, it's relying on the McDonald's or something else. But at some point, some phone comes through your hands that you have text access to. You can send a message and interact. And as soon as they do that, we can start engaging them in broadcast messaging and more meaningful engagement with things that they might need or help that they might need through this switchboard. So you send us a message and we immediately start a conversation with what you need. But then there's a whole bunch of automation that happens too. So you send us a message and you want to know, you're food insecure and you came Saturday. Well, do you want to know when the next one's going on and get a reminder and know when we're not having one, maybe because it's a major holiday or something? Well, then we'll put you on this mailing list like Divya is talking about with tags. And we have, 1,500 folks here on the message list at any given moment. And just automatic subscription to those lists. Somebody can send us a tag name and get signed up to. We just have to tell somebody in Food Line, hey, well, just send us a message saying, food box to this number. And the ability to automatically connect people to ongoing kind of pervasive messages is really important in building a relationship in our community. So it's not just a transactional, I showed up a Food Line, don't know who these people are and don't know what to do next. But it's, hey, I showed up, I know how to reach somebody. They responded back. Suddenly somebody invited me to engage in food stamps. I didn't know I could engage in food stamps. It always seems complex, don't know how to do it. Somebody's having a conversation with me about it. So it's a gateway to that relationship in our communities, changing people's lives.
Cool. Yeah, Josh asked a good question. I was just responding in chat, by the way, in terms of how this works and like missed it. Was this an offline thing or is this like does this require connectivity? And Josh, it's using SMS basically as like that lowest common denominator, just assuming they're not going to have like internet or a laptop or anything. So good question though. Why don't we do, Sai, if you want to just do your bit and then we'll kind of transition into the bounty because we've got 20 minutes. I know, Jason, you got a hard stop. So let's try to give you like 2 or 3 minutes to do your piece and then we'll flip into analyzing the bounty.
And Sean, 5 seconds, or well, 15 seconds, I'll cover Josh's question here too. We're working through, there's a bunch of providers out there that allow you to tap into the cell phone network or landline network and send messages like this. They're really low cost if you have a solution that's pre-built like this, that you can set up that connection yourself. If I turn to another nonprofit space tool right now, I'm paying 5 cents plus a message. And many times our messages are multiple segments. So if I send out a Saturday message, I'm sending out 5,000 messages or so. Multiple segments, multiple languages, characters. Different characters that you use in different languages cost you more. So it gets really expensive really fast. I'm talking fractional cents for a message, like 0.04 or something cents for a message. If you have the ability to connect like to a provider like this and use a free solution to send messaging. So it's a real cost differentiator for connectivity.
All right. I'm gonna talk about another key feature on the application, and for the sake of time sensitivity, I'll be quick. So one thing I want to talk about is a feature where we have given the ability for the customer for them to subscribe and unsubscribe from different tags. So let's say if a customer wants to subscribe to a particular tag called staff, all they need to do is send in a message saying staff to the number that I just sent in the chat box. I invite all the judges and the panel members to feel free to text the number and then with any of the tags mentioned here. For the sake of demonstration, Divya, if you could send the message staff to the number. Um, There you go. I just got a message from Divya saying staff, and then she must have gotten an automated message saying you have successfully subscribed to staff. And then from here on forward, she'll be receiving all the messages related to that particular service. And then if the customer wishes to unsubscribe from that particular tag, all they need to do is send in the words unsubscribe followed by the tag name, which is staff. If the user sends unsubscribe staff to the system, there you go. The system receives that message and then generates an automated message, sends it back to the recipient saying that they have successfully unsubscribed from the tag. And then if they wish to resubscribe back back to the tag, all they need to do is send in the tag name again. So instead, if the customer wishes to stop all the messages from the service, not receive any messages from the number, they need to send in the keyword stop to the number. There you go. Once the system receives the stop keyword, it displays a message to the admin saying that you cannot send any messages to this number and then disables the send button. And then the recipient gets an automated message saying that you have successfully been unsubscribed from the service. You will not receive any more messages. Now, if the customer wants to opt back into the system, start receiving messages again, all they need to do is send in the message start, and then the recipient is mid active, and then they'll be able to get the messages again. So that is the self-subscribe unsubscribe feature that we've offered. And then moving on to the next page of the application, this is the settings page. Here you can see all the admins list, all the existing admins, and then you also have the ability to approve new admins. This ability is right now accessible only for super admins in the system. So all they need to do is come here, click on the approve button. That will automatically add that particular admin to the admins list, and then they can start using the application. Moving on to the branding tab, this is where all the details of the application or the organization are stored. The
I'm
name,
actually going
logo,
to
and
cut you off, man. I'm because we are pretty tight on time and we need to flip into
gotcha.
mode. But yeah, great job.
Mhm.
Let's do this. So I'm gonna take back control of the screen here, and let's let's just review this bounty together. I was thinking that we'd release you and then bring you back, but I think probably this is pretty straightforward. So in the interest of time, judges, what we're solving here is this. Basically, we need to determine whether they met these 6 criteria with this app. And so we can kind of talk through each one of them and ask whatever questions we need to ask. But yeah, basically, this one, it is open source, correct? I believe we've attached the MIT license to it. Is that displayed anywhere? Or how would someone verify that? Anyone?
The application is listed in the Bubble Marketplace, if that is what you're.
Okay, let's
It-
verify that.
I can paste the link on the chat box right now.
Perfect. Yeah, if you could do that, that would be good.
There you go.
Okay, where's chat? Okay, and we do have a prettier image for it. We just didn't switch it because Bubble is, I think Tanya would agree, notoriously slow at approving things, and we didn't want to take the risk that we change that image and then have it not appear. So this is the app in the Bubble Marketplace, which is one of the criteria here. Yep. So I think that would satisfy this one. Also, judges, if you have any questions, I'm semi-monitoring the chat, but if there's anything, feel free to chime in with voice if you have any questions that aren't addressed in chat. Okay, so configurable SMS bridge based out of the box with modular architecture. I think probably Tanya can vouch for the modular architecture aspect of this. It's a single page app that she started. It's very cleanly architected, so that's nice. Future extensibility. So the vision here is down the road to be able to incorporate other tools. SMS was just the first protocol that we chose to support, but I believe the architecture of it does support this idea of plugging in other tools like this. And this is likely something that with the second evolution of it, the Shepherd AI project that will be kind of the V2, that will enable some of this too. So it does offer this. So that criteria is met. Digital divide, serving at least 1,000 unique users. Jeff, you can verify that this is going to more than that, right?
Yep, or yeah, even the group can probably try to preserve the confidentiality of communication numbers, but the group could easily enough demonstrate that there's about 1,500 recipients in the system right now, and we've been using this for broadcast for the past couple of months.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to show like people's phone numbers, but as long as we've got that verified. Let's see, bidirectional information exchange.
Sorry, I have a question. How does it enable access to multiple government services?
Sorry, which part are you asking about, Nadia?
The second part of the third criteria. So you have more than 1,000 unique users, but how does it really enable access to multiple government service programs?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Nadia. Our intent with that was to provide connection to like live humans and questions and answers and services that you would normally enroll on in the internet, or enroll in on the internet. So like we staff the back end with community health workers, so this type of connection allows community members to like engage in a meaningful conversation for food stamp, for instance, where you'd normally go to a DES office or something that was encumbered with a lot of overhead, difficulty and complexity, and vulnerability too, depending on status, legal status, other factors. So yes, we're very much doing that today.
Did that address your question, Nadia? Cool. Okay. Support bidirectional information exchange for both broadcast as well as custom configurable surveys for collection. So the surveys are not there yet, but it's the ability to add them is that correct? I know Sai, you worked on this piece of it. So you basically have like a registry where you can add like tags and different keywords that will then trigger these other actions like surveys, right?
Correct. So we have a conversational state. So we can adjust, plug in the different configurations to start in a survey where we can send a series of questions to the user and then receive answers from them.
Cool. And what is the plan for that to add surveys? Do we have a roadmap there, or what's the approach that's intended to be used on that? Anyone care to chime in?
I have one, so it's up to you guys to execute. Yeah. So this would be Survey.js and JSON architecture, the back end for delivery over this by an AI agent. So we're actively working on that feature for kind of fully automated, but right now I think this interface is able to collect survey data from recipients, which the way we use that today is like in a food line where you have to provide some demographic data to pick up your food box, what zip code you're from, how many family members in your family, those types of items to provide your data to the food line as you're picking up the food box. So.
Good. All right, this one we just demoed. This is in the Bubble Marketplace now, so it's packaged. Documentation is available here. So that's all there to get it installed. Divya, you guys have installed this on a new instance using this documentation?
Yes, and we have verified that the template works as well.
Cool. Right. Frozen goal. Okay, so this one is really more for how this works. It's not really a criterion that you guys had to solve. So what's the I guess deliberation here? Any other questions from the judges on this?
I guess I have one small question. It's slightly different to the criteria, but apart from the surveys, what's next? Is there anything further that would really help this community if we bolted it on?
Yeah, I can pull up Shepherd AI. So this is the one that the NIH grant is actually for. Let me find it here. So this one is the one that got funded. It's a fairly substantial, I think, what, 146K is the total grant for this one. So this is basically going to be a bolt-on to Message Everywhere, and it'll be the AI component that allows us to do something useful with the message content. So if it's not staffed by a human operator, this thing can be running at all times and basically say, oh, it looks like you're struggling with social security number registration. Here's the knowledge base article that it applies to that. Here's how you deal with it. It can escalate to a human when it needs to. And that's more of the, like, I guess the pre-step to that is like using the AI to make sense of all the conversations that we already have to say, hey, what are the barriers that people are actually struggling with, and what information do they need? Like, is there anything we could be doing better? But then like this whole agentic interventional approach of like, at runtime, we can actually serve them using the AI. So yeah, so that's the plan. At least that's the bolt-on. Surveys, I think, is going to be a component of this one technically. So it's something that the AI can do, is it can extract survey data.
This will be
Stuart,
chatbot.
Sorry, guys.
This will be your chatbot.
Yeah.
and the spectrum of things that the community needs are pretty broad, but we're really looking at solutions that can be deployed in any context. That when we activate human capital, it might scale out to serve 1,000 different organizations. So we try to build this within the same mindset of if somebody's operating in the Sudan or Ethiopia or any other global location, could they deploy this solution and get some type of connectivity in their community that allows them to build active relationships and meet human needs? And that's the digital divide problem we're focused on here. Creighton Community Foundation in this community, we do a whole bunch of different things, but I'll stay focused on this digital divide and the bounty here. So.
And my last question, sorry, I'm being a Columbo moment. Does anybody, do we have any feedback from the recipients and their experience with this, and any sort of like that kind of user NPS type stuff?
Yeah, so we collect a whole bunch of that for our community, but I think we know what works in our community. We've been doing this for a long time. We have a lot of input here. We've used we've used prior iterations of this type of approach for data gathering mechanisms, all types of services. I think the really wild question is what type of reactions we can get from other geographic spaces when we deploy these tools. That's even, to Sean's point, that's even some of the thinking behind Shepherd, for instance. Can you culturally contextualize language, interactions, understanding of the obstacles that might vary in different communities with an AI tool that uses a connectivity and conversation tool like this? So that I deploy this in England or somewhere, which has a totally different public services structure, totally different set of barriers, obstacles for families engaging in different needs. Can we understand, could AI facilitate connecting and communicating in that context, and gracefully walk into an entirely different set of obstacles and empower people who are struggling to find solutions and to address maybe their own imposed obstacles when it comes to engagement and solutions.
So I just want to summarize real quick what I'm getting. In a crisis situation or a NGO type situation, an organization could go in, identify a problem, download this app, quickly start passing out flyers with phone numbers. If you need help, text this. And then the recipient can quickly get into a dialogue with aid organizations or whoever is using the app at that time. And then it creates a messaging platform to, food kitchen set up at 9, bandages available at 10, whatever. And it's kind of community based within that problem area, I guess, or that challenge area. Is that about sum it up?
I think that's one use case for sure, like a disaster preparedness situation. There's other ones out there that are like primarily geared around that. My take on this is it's more for organizations like Jeff's, where you've got like community NGOs trying to serve like long term in a community, trying to better it and help people. And they just, because it's a marginalized community, they just don't necessarily have access to laptops and internet and all the niceties that we take for granted. So it's
It's bootstrapping the communication infrastructure, basically. Okay.
Yeah. And just a quick flyby, Josh, for some community context here. We're typical of most inner city communities, but we might have one car in a household, if any. You think about like a neighborhood here in Phoenix, we're north of County Hospital, where there's a canal, there's a big highway corridor, it's been punched through neighborhoods. When you try to think about walking to even the corner store, you're talking about crossing an irrigation canal, talking about crossing a really high traffic underpass with a highway and multiple different traffic patterns, notorious for pedestrian incidents with cars and getting run over. You just get to a corner store, you have almost no fresh food in that community. You're trying to go somewhere to get social services, you have all those same obstacles and transportation in between you. We have almost no grocery stores in those communities. So if you want fresh food, it's impossible, but your food insecure today. So you're trying to struggle over here to get a food box. Now, when it comes to lifting yourself out of that space, you want to enroll in something like food stamps or public support to get some stability in your household and some extra assistance. Well, that food stamp application is generally about 2 hours online. Hundreds of pages, the documentation you have is nuts. When we have somebody come in for us to work alongside the computer with them for that food stamp application, it generally takes 6 visits for them to get there with the right documentation to go through a food stamp application for about $130 a month for a big household, food stamp benefits. So tremendous hurdles there. And when we apply a tool like this with AI behind it, can we help you identify what some opportunities are to proactively solve your barriers? Well, how are you going to get there? How are you going to find transportation to get to this food stamp appointment?
Jeff, sorry to cut you off.
Yep.
We've got 3 minutes to wrap this up. So judges, do you need any other information to make a determination here, or what's the verdict on these guys?
It seems like it hit your criteria list. 1 through 5 seemed like it was solved.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, looks good and seems to be adding value. I mean, if it were me in the next kind of judging thing, getting some of that end user feedback would be super cool. But based on everything we've heard today, it seems great.
Yeah, I would agree. That's the critical next step is like, does the end user see the value? Oh, wow, this did save me 3 hours this week.
Yeah. And you
One
usually
last
hear
thing I
that
gotta-
thing that you didn't expect, right, from the end user, because they've just got this thing happening that we don't understand.
Yeah, well,
One
it's
last
amazing, the
I'll
end
share.
user-
I got to run. Is think about if you don't have the ability to be able to send pictures and texts back, because there might be things they're dealing with in the community that, like, you know, all they can do is give a thumbs up or something or what have you to respond, or like, hey, here's an image of something bad happening you should be aware of, or, you know, it's and with language barriers, their English might, you know, they can speak in the hieroglyphics of emojis a little bit easier.
Jason, before you drop off, are you okay if I take a group picture with everyone? Get us
Yep.
all in? All right, I'll do two. Just so say cheese. All right, one more. Perfect. All right. Thank you, Jason, for your time. I know you got to run. And everyone else, I said I keep this to an hour, so we are right here at the 2 minutes left. So congrats. I guess we'll call that a win. And Nadia, unless you have any objection.
No, absolutely. Congratulations, you.
All right,
Good
guys.
job, guys.
This is
Congratulations.
I just want to close with, you know, this has been a daily you know, in Discord, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into this. And so yeah, you know, thank you to Divya and Sai and Yash. And there's probably, I don't know, Jeff, would you say 20 other people have touched this? Like in all, because it's been over the course of 2 years. So it's, you know, Tanya, thank you for starting it. Everyone who's worked on it, realize that you're not just solving and like addressing all those people in Jeff's locale, but this thing is now preserved and it's going to be used by other communities, hopefully. And the more we get it out there, we can build on it. So this is just like take a minute to like celebrate, you know, the culmination of all this work, the finally being out there. Really proud of everyone. So thank you guys. Thank you for everyone's time. There's the 1 hour mark right there. So everyone be well.
Best of luck, everybody.
Good luck,
Thank you,
guys.
everybody.
Chris, y'all. And Chris, thank you so
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Thank
Yes,
you.
guys.
Cheers.
I miss you, Sean. Let's hang out.
Miss you too, buddy. Let's get a call soon. Let's see you.
Yeah.